The war has finally started and many people are dying, but that's kind of okay as it links to our main protagonist's development. Plus, Baylord Poole, I am sorry. For what? You'll find out later. Hello everyone and welcome to the Enemies Earlier, and today let's talk all things the Intrusion and the A Rough War story arcs within the Tower of God Season 3 webtoon series. A great set of arcs that a lot happened. We got some great development for certain characters and surprises from others. The arcs themselves seemingly felt like set-up chapters as the war had only just started. But we are moving certain storylines along, so that in itself is a good thing. I like to see that. But also, we get to see the events in present time unfold, so let's talk about everything that happens within the arcs, from the development to the character interactions. Let's begin. Starting off with the Baylords. So then, we got a lot of good information about the characters. We got growth from Poole, plus we learned lore about their father. It turns out that their father was a loyal servant of the leader of the Lopo Bai family, creating an army of canines who together do the leader's dirty work within the shadows. I thought it was fascinating that although their father and the rest of the canines were loyal servants to the Lopo Bai family, they weren't ever considered a main branch of their family. Instead, they were kept to the shadows and treated like a cursed race. These people are continuously risking their lives for you, and although they're being mistreated on a day-to-day basis from other members of the household, they still act faithful to their leader. And yet you, as the leader, never once acknowledged them or tried to stop that mistreatment. My question to you, the leader, family head of the Lopo Bai family, why not? Why not stop it? Why not make their lives better? I want to know. I understand also why Daddy Baylord was so loyal, being experimented on a daily basis, or God knows what else happened to him while at the workshop, until being saved by the family leader. I kind of respect Baylord's loyalty and dedication to him. But at the same time, it felt like he went from leaving a nightmarish environment to just going to another not so bad but still bad environment. So at that point, it's not very good for Daddy Baylord in that situation. But at the end of the day, I like learning this lore about the canines. It adds more characteristics to them. More of an interest within my mind when reading about these canine people. So that placement, I thought it was good and much needed. Another thing that I respect was Baylord Poole's development. I can't lie, I didn't like Poole within the cage interaction. I thought he was boring and weak. But actually, his development here was fantastic. The involvement that he did was also very boosting for his character. Learning that last time he transformed, he went berserk and it took Yama and Doom together to barely stop his rampage. That was a brilliant teaser of things to come within these arcs, teasing us for when he finally does transform. And when Poole does transform and manages to control himself, he is crazy strong. He has a lot of power in that transformation. As well as a very cool design. I thought the design of it was pretty badass, can't lie. Seeing both Poole and Doom team up in this situation in order to defeat the branch leader that they were faced against was a great clash, and also it's nice to see Doom acting rather brotherly. So that was good sort of development for Doom as well. Now then, let's switch from the three Baylords that had good interactions and knowledge from this arc and talk about the three branch leaders of the Lopo Bai family. Now these are branch leaders sent by the Lopo Bai family in order to fight on the side of Jihad's army. We have a light bearer sniper who was an absolute joy and pleasure to read throughout these arcs. She made a contract with an administrator that allowed her to use powerful bullets, but only 2 can be fired per day. This allows her to have a skill that allows her to have a chance at taking down a high ranker within the top 300 rankings, as well as giving her some comfort while in combat. She's not a fan of shooting, as the recoil from shots pains her greatly. So in order to have 2 shots per day, it allows her to do her job efficiently, but at the same time, just kind of once she's fired twice, that's it, she can go home. Her personality was great. I love the personality so much, but she has to watch out big time, because she has pissed Ivanka off massively. Yeah, we'll get to Ivanka later. Now we have the user of the monkey that throws his own feces. Yeah, wasn't blown away by this character. Not gonna lie, he bored me quite a bit. I didn't like his design, nor the armor that he used, the monkey, or really any dialogue he had to say. Like, he was just really a setup. Yeah, his branch leader was basically used in order to set up the sniper lightbearer branch leader or character from the Lightbearer family. I don't remember if she's a family branch leader. Could be wrong. Sorry if I am. But then we have the bird user who battles against the Baylord brothers. This was possibly my second favourite of the branch leaders, but he was a bit of a numpty. Why would you reveal your allies to your enemies? This guy just gave away a massive, massive advantage. Jihad's army had the element of surprise, and he just went and blew it. He told them, oh, by the way, guys, you may be fighting us, but we have another branch leader. We have squadron commanders. We have Cullivan. We have Musheni Jihad. Now, logically, no one's going to predict that Musheni Jihad, a princess of that stature, is going to be inside the nest or behind Jin Sung's capture. So then, why would you give your enemies that info? It makes no sense. You just basically said to your enemies, we got all these powerful people, make a plan. Make a plan. Go on, find a way to beat them. Instead, yeah, no good. You're a silly bird brain. That's all I can call you. But we'll move along to those characters because we don't need to spend too long on them. They basically have done their contribution to the war. Well, 2 are dead and 1's going to be dead pretty soon from the looks of Ivanka's face. So, yeah, we'll move on. Now, speaking of numpties, because I've just been talking about the silly bird brain man, let's talk about Kun. Now, he wasn't really too big of a numpty because he was doing a good strategy here. Kun and White's interactions were very interesting and thought-provoking. Seeing Kun take this more sinister approach to the war, knowing that White with his full power would be a massive asset to their fight against Jihad's army. But does Kun really believe that White is so trustworthy, and trustworthy enough to still be aligned with Bam's forces once White gains his full power? Like, what stops White from running away or attacking Bam or anything like that in the future? But again, I like seeing this more twisted or even showing a more desperate side to Kun's character. Kun knows what war is like and will do anything to achieve it. He knows a basic understanding of what Jihad's army is going to be in terms of their strategy, so he's using that against them. And you know what? I'm all for it. Because you can't have a big reward if you don't take a massive risk. And that's kind of what they're doing here. You could give yourself a massive advantage by making White gain his full power once again. But at the cost of, potentially, him becoming your greatest enemy in the future. Oh, and that line about having connections to your family leaders or higher-ups within the Kun family, that doesn't fill me up with confidence at all. The reason being is, we know that Kun doesn't get along with his family. So, if White does go berserk and betrays everyone, then Kun's not going to be able to rely on anyone from his family. Because I doubt Eden's going to do it, because they don't have a good connection. Now then, I said something about surprises earlier, but I was not expecting to have lore about Karaka within these arcs. And that lore was somewhat sad. Crazy, huh? We learned that Jin Sung gave Karaka his armor but not for revenge, but for surviving. As Jin Sung just wants Karaka to live. Getting the title of Slayer at such a young age creates a lot of enemies, and his master just wanted his student to stay alive. This was such a sweet and wholesome message and flashback that we got given. It made me feel sorry for Karaka. It made me want to cheer him on in hoping that he and Bam would rescue Jin Sung. This also makes Jin Sung out to be the greatest guy within the tower. He's just a brilliant father figure as well. The words he gave Karaka were nearly identical to the words he gave Bam. Jin Sung just wants both of his students to be happy with their own respective lives. This was such a great emotional and respectful scene. I loved it a lot. Going back to obviously the words that Jin Sung gave Bam, I'm referring to when Bam was just about to leave Thug after completing his training and go up the tower again before he met Wang Nam and the rest of them. Jin Sung said, just do what makes you happy. Don't say things that you don't mean. That sort of conversation. And speaking of Bam, we gotta talk about his development within this arc, as well as some of his interactions, because they were pretty cool as well. So let's move on to his character. Because at a first glance, the development that Bam went through within these arcs may seem small, but they show a massive change within his character's mental state. I love the scene where Bam was talking to his younger self, in where Bam states, "I'm doing all this so I can move forward." This was great, as the young Bam would basically be doing everything he can to find a way to rescue his master while no one had to die in the process. This obviously would have failed, and this would have been a pipe dream that would never have come true. This shows that Bam's younger self was immature and naive. But now, when Bam is saying he's doing all of this to move forward, it means he's breaking out of that immatureness, that naiveness. Yes, it might still creep in every now and again, but this is a massive leap for his character in terms of his mental psyche. And the fact that his character is not looking away from all of these dead bodies floating in this space-like area, this just goes to show and reinforces that mental development he's gone through. He no longer is trying to do things unrealistically. Instead, he's using logic and taking responsibility for his actions and the consequences that follow the choices he makes. Oh, I love that. That was amazing. As for his fighting skills, nothing has really changed. He is still a badass in that regard, and he can now use 3 orbs at once. So this means his training with a Vankel has certainly been fruitful, so that is always good to see. Now, he might be getting a little bit too overconfident as well with his own power. When facing the same ranker from the last station arc, he seemed to have forgotten about him / pushed him to one side, especially when the topic of needing to get to the wall to break the curse on it. Once that kind of became a priority, he kind of just pushed the ranker to one side and didn't see him as a threat at all. Now, I would like this to kind of play a plot thread later on. Maybe there's another character deeper into the nest the Bam perceives as weak and not worth his time, acting more overconfident in terms of his own abilities, lets his guard down, and that character cripples Bam, leaving him with an injury that is near enough incurable until later on in the series, giving Bam a bit more of a handicap and needing to overcome another challenge. I think that would be amazing. Now, I also found the lore behind the defensive wall was really interesting. Learning about the layers upon layers of spells cast upon it to increase the steadiness of its defenses, and how the spells used on the second wall were most likely spells that are used to reinforce the walls surrounding the 10 great families' fortresses / structures. In fact, the spells that are placed on the second wall are so strong that it takes Jihad himself or any of the 10 family leaders to break them. Bam can only likely break this spell on the wall for a split second, giving our heroes the smallest minute windows of opportunity to break through. That was cool. I like it when they give us lore about certain locations and certain devices that could be used later on in other arcs to kind of boost other things, making us go, oh yeah, I remember that information from way back when it finally becomes relevant once again. And finally, let's talk about Ivankel. This was a surprise as I did not expect to see her backstory within these arcs specifically, seeing how lost she was in trying to find her purpose in life in the past. The exchange of words between herself and Hong Sung-yu were great at showcasing how Hong Sung-yu has such a talent for persuading people with his ideals and with his words. This was great for both characters to give them a bit of a spotlight in kind of building them up and giving them more of a fleshed out personality and lore. It was fascinating to learn about the ancient power, the elephant within Ivankel. It has this instinctive feeling / drive to live, yet doesn't know the reason as to why it has to stay alive. This is why they go to certain people that they feel like can be hosts for them, give them their power in exchange for allowing the spirit of the ancients to live, so that when they find that reason, they can go to the point in time they're meant to be at and fulfill their destiny. This is so cool as it means that everyone with the powers of an ancient has some relevant plot thread to move forward with as we move up the tower. I can't wait to see how this goes. A part of me thinks it's linked to Rack, but a part of me wants it to be something else and something better. Now then, real quick, take a look at these two pictures right here. I want you to tell me the difference between the two. They're basically the same image. Ivankel is basically the sister of Bisque from Hunter x Hunter, as she too in Hunter x Hunter suppresses her true form, which is a very masculine, massive lady. After all, Ivankel made a contract with the test floor administrator, so Ivankel gained the ability to alter her appearance to look the same way as what we've come to know and love her character to be looking like. However, her true form is very muscular, very hench and beefy. And you know what? I want to see more of it, because although it looks rather disturbing, and I'd hate to see it in an alleyway at night, I'm intrigued. So let's move forward with it. But one more thing about Ivankel's new kind of form and the fact that she suppresses her true self. Could this be an indication or a hint that she is slightly insecure about her own appearance? I never would have put Ivankel down to be the insecure type, but now I'm wondering if she has a girly side to her. That would be a huge surprise in the future if that ever became the case, but we'll have to wait and see. Overall, these arcs were some fun, enjoyable, exciting arcs to read, and it was a joy to have the pleasure of reading. I can't wait to see how these matches are looking to unfold and move forward as we go through this particular sort of plot thread. White is nearing his grand entrance to the battlefield. Both Bam and Karaka are locked in a fight against Cullivan, who continues to be this impossible wall, as well as he continues to speak these amazing badass lines. How will the interactions between Doan and Cha go? That plot thread is getting more and more complicated with the kind of implications of their friends being captured. We've got potentially a trader in the mix to be revealed, so that's going to come to a front soon. And finally, poor child. She has no idea what is going to happen to her once Ivankel gets her hands on her and finds her. I don't want her to die because I really do like this kind of lipo by family member kind of personality. I like her character. She's a joy. So Ivankel, I know she shot you in the head, but be gentle, please. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this review. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, hit that like button, comment your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about these arcs and anything I've said in this video. Subscribe, all that good stuff, and of course, I'll be seeing you next time. Have a great day. Alligator, matane, goodbye.